Hello and welcome to the Comic Cave. I'm Ramsey, aka Captain Away, and today I'm looking at the 2014 to 2016 series Grayson, sort of ish part of DC's The New 52. When this comic initially released, DC was still using the New 52 branding on all their comics, but by the time the first collection had come out, they had already dropped it, as things like the Convergence event began to change the continuity begun by the New 52. And that's fine, really, because despite sharing main characters, this comic has basically no connection to the New 52 Nightwing comic. In fact, if you never read it, you aren't missing out on a single vital detail to help you understand this comic. Seriously. Instead, this comic has its roots much more into other comics. The first is Forever Evil, which saw Dick Grayson get kidnapped by an evil Justice League from another world called the Crime Syndicate. No joke. Who then exposed his identity to the entire world. Everyone then assumed that Nightwing was killed by the Syndicate, but in actuality he was saved by Batman and, well, Lex Luthor, believe it or not. Batman then asked Dick Grayson to stay dead so that he could be recruited by secret spy organization Spyral. Spyral was first introduced in the series Batman Incorporated, where the eponymous group clashed with a terrorist organization named Leviathan, which was headed by this weird old bug-eyed Nazi scientist named Otto Netz, aka Dr. Daedalus, aka Agent Zero, aka, well, all of this stuff. He has a lot of names. Batman and co. end up getting unexpected help against Leviathan from Spyral, led by the original Batwoman, Kathy Kane, who's different from the New 52 Batwoman, Kate Kane, because they said so. When Daedalus and Leviathan were defeated, Spyral didn't just go away though. Instead, it seems like they changed their goals, determining to learn the true identity of every superhero, having already started with Batman. Unable to oppose them directly, Batman hopes Dick can be his inside man in Spyral, to keep an eye on them and bring them down if necessary. So let's see how Grayson plans to do that and take this away. The comic opens with our New 52 introduction to Helena Bertinelli, previously the superhero The Huntress, but here the headmaster or matron of an all-girls finishing school called St. Hadrigan's, originally introduced in Batman Incorporated. Man, I love it when we get maps to things in comics. It really helps my brain. Helena is disciplining a student, but I think it's weird that she's doing it in an unbuttoned shirt while clearly not wearing a bra. The outfit pretty much seems like the result of a comic without any female input. And are there any women working on this comic? Yeah, that'd be a nope. The student, righteously chastised, Helena drops down into Spyral, which conveniently introduces itself for us. Oh, how helpful. This bit here is actually from a comic called Secret Origins, which provided backstories for a number of comics running at the time, to help new readers catch up. So, consequently, this story goes into extreme detail in multiple double-page spreads about Dick Grayson's history. From his time in Haley's Circus, to his apparent death in Forever Evil, to his kicking around Europe and the Middle East to stop the Fist of Cain. It seems Spyral has a tradition of letting its agents pick their partners, and Helena has chosen Dick to be hers. The head of Spyral, Mr. Minos, though, is like, yeah, no. How's about you kill him instead? And so she does, not even letting Mr. Minos finish his villainous monologue. The end. Oh wait, no, that turned out to be just a dummy dressed as Dick Grayson. Damn. Guess I have to do the rest of this video after all. Impressed by Helena's lack of hesitation, Mr. Minos welcomes Dick into Spyral after all, as Agent 37. So we skip on into the actual first issue of this series, which starts right away being all like, let me just show you something. This is literally the second and third pages of the comic, and we start with Dick jumping down from this hill here, through the title bar, down to this panel here, where he's immediately attacked by some dude. Grayson uses his gun on him, but not by shooting it, instead by throwing it 2 panels ahead, where it then bounces off this pole and flies back 1 panel and hits the guy in the head. Damn, you're right, Dick, that was cool. Oh, but you're also wrong. Someone was around to see that coolness. Hey, look everybody, it's Midnighter! Yay! Man, seriously though, that was a hell of a way to kick off this comic. Again, literally the second and third pages here, and already it's letting you know this series is going to be stylish AF. AF. Agent 37 and Helena, who doesn't get an agent number and instead is always referred to as Matron, are targeting this Russian man here because he apparently has a nuclear reactor in his belly. Well, at least his digestive system is probably very efficient. Their efforts give us a chance to learn about the Hypnos implant all agents have, an implant that apparently goes in their eyes. Ugh. 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 Sorry, I have a thing about eyes. The Hypnos allows them to literally hypnotize people with very impressive effects. The Russian here that I'm probably horribly mispronouncing is something like Luchaya da Russia Navisigda, which apparently means best friends forever. I love that. The Hypnos makes it impossible to remember the face of the person wearing one, and instead you just remember it as kind of a face of swirls. And that's also how it appears if captured by a camera. Midnighter is working for something called the God Garden, run by a lady called the Gardener in a space station, and plans to stop Spyral from getting their hands on the tummy reactor, not trusting their reasons for wanting it. I have to say I'm pretty fond of most of the art in this series, almost entirely done by one artist, who's from Spain, so I'm guessing his name is pronounced Mikel Yanin. Sorry if that's wrong. But this shot, yeah, something went wrong with that leg there. It's way too long, and it bends like 3 times. Also, interesting choice in the recurring use of Midnighter in this series. Writer-creators Tim Seeley and Tom King seem to think to themselves, well, if Dick can't hang out with Batman, he should hang out with gay Batman. That seems a little problematic to me, but I do like Midnighter, and King and Silly seem to be deliberately queerbaiting the part of the internet that want Dick to be canonically bisexual in this series. Not just with all the flirtatiousness that goes on between Dick and Midnighter, including a point where Dick talks about his boyish charms working on Midnighter, but also in a Grayson special where Batgirl specifically says, I get it, you don't want me, you want someone who is Batman. Yeah, but like, no? Also, his cover story for staying at this all-girls school is that he's their gay gym teacher. Yeah, they literally include in his cover story that he's gay. Not that that stops the girls at the academy from being all dreamy-eyed over him. This one even names his butt cheeks Jim and Juan, kicking off this series' obsession with Dick Grayson's butt. Like how Midnighter later recognizes Dick, even though the Hypnos means he can't make out his face, by being like, I'd know that ass anywhere. Which, yeah, Batgirl does the same thing in a Batgirl annual. Yeah, I don't get it. Anyway, the whole first story arc sees him and Helena hunting down various body parts of a being called Paragon, who was apparently cloned out of the DNA of all the members of the Justice League in order to kill them. I mean, I guess. They talk about him as if he existed before, but I can't actually find any previous appearance of him in the New 52. So if somebody out there does know where he's shown up, please let me know. Before the New 52, Paragon was just some dude who could use the powers of other superhumans around him. Within the New 52, there was a Paragon, this rando Nightwing fought in the previous series who had no superpowers, but did have some kind of crazy laser whip. They're definitely not talking about that guy though. Instead, the various organs of Paragon have been split up among different people, giving them forms of the superpowers of members of the Justice League, like the nuclear belly, which apparently came from Cyborg. Which is weird because his powers come from his robot half, not his DNA, but okay. They also meet a doctor driven to cannibalism by the increased metabolism given to her by an organ made from Flash DNA, a baby with super strength because it has the heart of Wonder Woman, and a man who calls himself St. Francis, who has the skin of Green Lantern, and so he has a weird green glow because he brings you love. Which is also weird because GL's powers come from his ring, not his DNA, but okay. Perhaps the most important of the stories, though, is the one where they get Aquaman's eyes. This mysterious blind gunman underwent some surgery where he sees through the barrels of his guns after his children were murdered in a school by a random gunman. The story introduces Agent A, who attempts to train Dick in the use of firing his guns, I guess in the hopes that he stops throwing it at people. The two hit it off right away, and immediately, this happens. Yeah. I mean, with his name being that, and, you know, this being a James Bond type story, this was pretty much bound to happen at some point. We're also introduced to Agent 1, aka Tiger, aka the Tiger King of Kandahar, aka Tony the Tiger. Okay, only Grayson calls him Tony the Tiger, but I love that nickname, so I'ma use it. Tiger is a super grouchy pants, but in secret he definitely likes Grayson. He's just a big tsundere. Tiger even repeatedly uses the tsundere catchphrase. Baka. Oh Tiger, you're the best. Despite 4 agents working to catch the eye guy, he manages to slip away from them. With some help from Batman though, Dick realizes that he wouldn't want eyes unless he had something to see. And what he wanted to see was his son. So Dick meets him at the Sun school independently and talks him into giving up the eyes, which the assassin says didn't work for him anyway. But what Dick didn't know is that Agents 1 and 8 followed him, and 8 snipes the assassin down for no damn reason. And in retaliation, the guy shoots Agent 8, so they both die. And this is why Dick doesn't like guns. Once Paragon is more or less all collected, Minos reveals that he also has his own agenda. He starts his big plan by shooting Helena right in the heart with her own crossbow, though luckily she keeps the sight off-center when she's not using it as a sort of safety. He next goes to attack Tiger while he's at prayer, but the Tiger King is not so easily killed and stops Minos, only to discover that Minos has reassembled Paragon as his own personal guard bot. Grayson shows up just in time to help Tiger fight Paragon, and luckily since he's been trained by Batman, he knows all about stopping the Justice League. Or the JLA, as Tiger incorrectly says here. Actually, Tiger, in the New 52, it's just the Justice League. The JLA was something different. Maybe he's confused by the Brian Hitch JLA series running around this time that just featured the regular Justice League. Nah, I'm sure that didn't confuse anybody. Paragon and the Mr. Minos with him were just distraction though, it turns out, as when they're both stopped, we find a still alive Mr. Minos spilling the beans about Spyral to a reporter. Only that reporter turns out to also be an agent of Spyral, and kills Minos for his betrayal. Although, do we really know this isn't just another Minos clone? Oh well, guess it doesn't matter. Finding out Mr. Minos' identity was Grayson's main goal in Spyral. And now with him dead, or at least apparently dead, Grayson wants to go home. But Batman isn't answering his radio because he's dead. Well, he's not dead, but I'll explain later. Without direction, Grayson continues to work for Spyral, with Matron taking over control of the agency and Tiger becoming Grayson's new partner. But as we soon learn on each of Grayson's missions so far, someone has been pretending to be Agent 37 and has gone around killing agents from other organizations. And this continues until that person attacks both Tiger and Grayson. Had to get another comment in about his butt, of course. This loose thread turns out to be a somehow still alive Agent 8, though only Tiger realizes it and lies about it to Matron, claiming it was another agency called Checkmate. At this point, Dick Grayson decides he's had enough and leaves Spyral, heading home to find out about Bruce. During the Joker in-game event, Batman lost his memory, and when he came back, Alfred left out all details about being Batman, giving him a chance to be just Bruce Wayne for the first time in his life since his parents were killed. Though Grayson thought he was done with Spyral, the mysterious Agent Zero that killed Mr. Minos shows up and demands he come back. She gives him 24 hours to say goodbye to all his friends, so he goes around meeting everyone and giving them something. My favorite is when Dick meets with Damian, as at this point they both thought the other dead. Aw, they're so sweet to each other. Along with the item Grayson gives everyone, he also leaves them a message in the Clue Master's code. This code, which uses the first word of every sentence to leave a message, was originally introduced in the Futures End special. This was a special DC was doing for all their New 52 comics running at the time, that jumped 5 years into the future to see where characters ended up, and well, it looks like they imagined the world of 2020 to be pretty damn bleak. How wrong they were, huh? Anyway, that story, which is told backwards, opens with Grayson being hanged and Helena talking enigmatically to him. Telling the story forward, we see a new version of the death of Grayson's parents, where Tony Suko used a special untraceable chemical to make ropes break at a later point. Then later we see Robin and Batman breaking Clue Master's code, and still later Grayson and Helena continuing as partners in Spyral through the 5 years, growing closer in their relationship, and Dick growing further disillusioned until he actually takes a life and is hanged for it. But Helena's mysterious speech can now be seen as the Clue Master's code, with it spelling out the roof, a code she uses with Grayson to mean extraction, and she might also be rubbing some of that special chemical on the rope he's being hanged with. So clever. Grayson's use of the Cluemaster's code this time, though, spells out for everybody the phrase break it, and when they break open their presents, they're all given bits of a puzzle that allows them to use their various talents to figure out how the hypnos works and allow Grayson to see through it, allowing him to identify Agent Zero as Luca Netz, daughter of Otto Netz, the guy with a billion names. Luca Netz is the sister of Dr. Elizabeth Netz, who has been in the series since the beginning as Spyral's primary research doctor and regular ogler of Grayson. It seriously gets a little gross. It seems old Otto had bred and raised these two girls to lead both Leviathan and Spyral as eternal enemies of each other, so that one day he could download his mind into the body of the most deserving and continue living forever. So the fight between the two agencies was really always between these two women. When Grayson learns some of this, he and Tiger go rogue and start taking down Spyral by taking down their agents, which begins probably my favorite bit of the whole series, this montage of the two agents taking down Spyral agents set to a James Bond style theme song that Grayson comes up with himself. It's got everything. References to his Spyral face and his gun throwing, Tiger's continuous grumpy remarks to everything Grayson says, and even recognition that spy stories by their very nature can be a little sexist. Well, at least he's aware. Also, for the love of God, someone please actually make this a real song a la Snake Eater. At this point, Tom King and Tim Seeley left the series to begin working on the DC Rebirth titles Batman and Nightwing, respectively, and the series was taken over by the guys who made Hacktivist. Yeah, that comic created by Alyssa Milano. Yeah, never thought I'd be mentioning that comic again. This new creative team apparently just follows an outline created by King and Seeley that sees Dr. Daedalus reborn not in either of his daughters, but instead in Helena. Dick, who has fallen pretty hard for Helena as that Future's End comic predicted he would, offers himself as sacrifice. Since that's apparently what Daedalus always wanted to begin with, he accepts the sacrifice and downloads himself into Grayson's brain using the Hypnos implant. Wait, so him downloading himself into somebody's brain makes them immediately grow weird bug eyes? Why? How? Okay. But Grayson puts a stop to that using the pre-programmed Hypnos shutdown code introduced in the first arc, Tsuchigumo. But not before Otto conveniently erases all memory of Grayson's existence. But not before Helena, even more conveniently, somehow managed to write a little exception into that erasure so that she, Tiger, and the Bat family all remember him. Tiger then becomes the new leader of Spyral as patron, Helena goes off to have her story as continued in Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, and Grayson returns home to be Nightwing again. With that, the comic comes to an end, so all that's left to say is, be good to each other, read lots of comics, everyone is welcome, always do the right thing, keep it real, do what feels right, open your eyes wider. Now let's get to the breakdown. I'll be honest, I didn't expect much from this series, which is probably part of why I was so taken with it. It is stylish AF right off the bat, and at least while the original creative team works on it, it continues to be that way for its entire run. I also love how much all the various story elements tie together, even seemingly unimportant things from the specials, all building toward one specific goal that, to be honest, came as a bit of a letdown. To its credit, they probably expected it to run a lot longer than it did, and it very likely would have considering how good the comic is, if it weren't for the DC Rebirth. Instead, we're left with a number of hanging questions, some very sudden character reveals, and some important plot points that just never developed. Things like what was the deal with Agent 8? That was never explained. And yet, while she didn't do anything worse than anyone else in this series really, they still apparently feel the need to kill her off at the end. That messed up, yo. My biggest issue is with how much they feel the need to explain how likable Nightwing is. From the super horny teenagers in Dr. Ned's drooling over him constantly, to the obsession over his butt that could apparently rival Ron Alexander's, to the fact that the main villain's main plot hinged on a completely inexplicable need to use Dick Grayson in his machinations. They even feel the need to have Grumpy Tiger voice his affection for Grayson by the end of the series, even though, like, duh, we got it. As I've said in other reviews, whenever the creative team can't trust you to like their character and feel the need to force their supposed likability down your throat, it really makes me want to dislike the character. Which is a shame because this is probably the most likable Dick Grayson has ever been in a comic that I've read. But still, in the end, I'm giving this series a recommendation level of high. Despite its faults, it's good enough and unique enough that it leaves me wishing more New 52 comics had taken the chance to do something different like this. The collected edition gets 3 Hypnos faces and 2 Eskrima sticks. Like in my last video, those Eskrima sticks are still kind of meh, but Hypnos is good. Or maybe that's just what it wants you to believe. That breaks down like this. Despite the fact that every volume only has 4 issues of the main comic, they all come with bonus issues in the form of specials, annuals, or oddly enough, the 2 issues of the Robin War event that this comic does tie into for a single issue. Also, it's weird that this comic only ran for 2 years, but it got 3 annuals. They all come with some bonus covers, and the first 3 volumes include bonus art and sketches, and the first volume even more than the others, and includes Tim Seeley's original pitch for the series. Pretty nice. I'm docking the last 2 volumes because the Robin War was honestly not great and takes up at least half of volume 4, and the creative team change for volume 5 left the final volume feeling a little lackluster in comparison. Thanks everybody for watching. Unfortunately, I ended up falling behind this month, so there's only going to be 3 reviews. Sorry about that. In December, I like to do single volume series or graphic novels. So if anyone has one that fits the bill, feel free to suggest it. Be sure to stick around next week for more New 52 fun times, and I hope to see you then, right here in the Comic Cave.